Jason, thank you for your testimony. I'm amazed by your story and your work ethic. We have a country right now where 38% of the people who can work choose not to work. So it's great to hear, how hard you've worked in all facets of the restaurant business and how, you really believe in the American dream. I understand you have a couple of guests here. I wonder if you would like to introduce your guests.
Yes, it's my daughter and my son right behind me, Paige and Colin. They're in high school and middle school.
And I guess I had one general question. How'd you get your work ethic? Did it just happen? Were you born that way? Did you get it from your parents?
Grandparents, uncles, and parents, my family.
You think it's important that kids work?
Oh, I put them to work in my restaurant. Oh, trust me, I'm teaching them how to pack orders and wash dishes.
I think the commonality, and I think, I said in my statement, is this nature or nurture? Is this just some accident that sort of happened? You hear from people and they say, oh, the supply chain, it's just like it mysteriously came out of nowhere or COVID caused it. No, it was our reaction to it. And in the beginning it was that we wouldn't let you open up. So you did better with takeout than your counterpart. Mm-hmm. But government forced her to lose business because government closed her down. We should be asking the question whether or not any of the things we did, the so-called mitigation, putting stickers on the floor. Can you imagine the millions of dollars we spent on these idiotic stickers? Did we save anybody's lives? Did we change the course of the disease? 1 million people died with what we did. I'm not positive any of these things changed the course of the disease at all, other than immunity. We now have immunity. 95% of us have immunity from either the vaccine or having had the disease. But we need to know what the cause of this was. Otherwise, we're going to do this again. We're going to get another flu. We're going to get another pandemic. We're going to get another maybe worse virus the next time. But when you describe the rising prices, they're twofold. Either your supplier is under quarantine from the government, shutting your supplier down, reducing the supply to elevate the price, or it's part of generalized inflation. But it's also part of this bigger thing, something for nothing. People think, oh, well, there's no penalty to the PPP program. Everybody got all this money, we kept everybody open, or everybody got unemployment checks. Well, the penalty is this: it destroys work ethic in people, but also we're finding the penalty now is generalized inflation. And that's part of your problem in trying to figure out, and you're right, it is beyond your control, but it's making your job, which is already a difficult job, predicting and running a restaurant, so much more difficult. So I understand this, but I'm not sure everybody does, and there's not agreement yet on both sides of the aisle what causes inflation. Basically, deficit spending, printing up the money, now the money's worth less. And that's what we have this generalized inflation. They said it was going to be transitory, and yet the Federal Reserve Chairman yesterday said transitory is now 3 years. I predict it's going to get worse before it gets better. But it comes from the notion of something for nothing, which gets back to the whole idea of work ethic. So while I'm incredibly proud of your work ethic, we need to be proud of the idea and understand the idea that there is no free lunch. There is nothing for free, really. And when we offer people things for free, ultimately there's a penalty, and that's the penalty we're paying now. Mr. Griffith, I think it's perplexing to people when they look on TV, even to myself. You look on TV and you see just the ships lined up off the coast of Long Beach and Los Angeles. One thing that you mentioned and others have mentioned, and I didn't really realize this, but if you could go into any more detail, is that I guess most ports in the world work 24 hours a day. They have shift work. My brother grew up doing shift work. Dow Chemical, all plants I thought did shift work. You don't have to work 24 hours. You work shifts, either of 8 or 12 hours, and then someone else comes on. It's not like inhumane, but it's the way we get things done. But tell us a little bit more about what goes on in Long Beach, why there's not 24-hour, why they haven't adapted, to all those ships sitting out there. How could we possibly just look at all those ships and leave them there?
Yeah, thank you, Senator Paul. And one interesting data point coming out over the past years, the year-over-year number of containers coming in to Long Beach, Los Angeles were virtually unchanged, and yet this backlog continued. And this was twofold. A lot of these social distancing restrictions, capacity restrictions, actually were perpetuated both in Long Beach and also in New Jersey. They refused to lift those in a timely manner. And instead of going ahead and expanding those operations to 7 days a week and 24 hours a day, the unions there, the organized labor bosses, were incredibly resistant to go ahead and expanding those hours to actually alleviate the problem. And then when we saw the infrastructure package that was passed in a bipartisan fashion in Congress, Some of those resources could have gone to helping them modernize, become more efficient, and the union groups balked again. And that's a big part of the reason why that backlog continues now off the coast of California.
Thank you. I guess I'm in charge now. Senator Shaheen?
No, actually, Senator Cardin asked me if I would take over while he went and voted. But